If you've ever stood in front of a bakery-style mixer and wondered whether it's worth the space it takes, you're not alone. I've spent the last few weeks watching a mix of small-batch pizza shops and home-based dough enthusiasts wrestle with that exact question, and I think I finally have a clear picture of where the Fma Omcan commercial 30QT mixer lands. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the hesitation most people feel isn't about the price tag, though it's not cheap, it's about the commitment. You're looking at a 30-quart, 2-horsepower machine that plugs into a 20-amp circuit, so you have to be sure the daily workload justifies the footprint. The biggest mistake I've seen is a hobbyist who only makes a few loaves a week buying a commercial-grade mixer and then letting it sit under a counter for months. That's money and space that could be used more wisely. On the flip side, a busy pizza shop that needs to churn out multiple dough batches per hour can't afford the downtime that comes with an underpowered mixer. Let's talk about what the machine actually does in a real kitchen. The 30-quart stainless steel bowl holds roughly 28 liters of dough, which translates to about 8 to 10 medium pizza crusts, or 3 to 4 large loaves of artisan bread, depending on hydration. In a shop that runs a lunch rush, you can prep 2 batches back-to-back without stopping to empty the bowl. The 3 attachments, flat beater, dough hook, and whisk, cover the basics: mixing batter, kneading dough, and whipping up light batters for desserts or pancakes. What makes this more than just another mixer is the safety guard that automatically locks the bowl when you engage the motor. In a high-traffic environment, that reduces the risk of accidental spills, which is something I've seen cause costly cleanups in smaller, unguarded models. Now, who really benefits from this setup? If you run a pizzeria, a bakery, or a catering operation that consistently needs to produce dough in bulk, the Omcan's 2 HP motor offers the torque required to handle high hydration doughs without stalling. I've seen videos of doughs with 7,080% water content that can be a nightmare for lower-powered mixers. This unit pushes through those thick, sticky masses without the motor humming out. The same goes for whole grain or rye doughs, which are heavier and often demand more power to develop gluten properly. For those businesses, the ability to keep the dough moving smoothly translates directly into consistent texture and less waste. If you're a serious home baker who loves making pizza night a weekly event and you've got a garage or a dedicated pantry, the mixer could also make sense. Imagine preparing a 30QT batch of dough on a Saturday, portioning it out, and having perfectly rested dough ready for Friday night. The large bowl means you won't have to run multiple cycles, which saves time and keeps the dough temperature more stable. However, you need to consider the space and the electrical requirements. The machine needs a dedicated 20-amp, 110V outlet. Most standard kitchen circuits are only 15 amps. Upgrading the wiring is an extra cost and hassle that many casual bakers overlook until they try to plug it in. On the downside, size is the most obvious trade-off. The mixer sits about 15 inches wide and 30 inches tall, which can dominate a small kitchen island. If you're already juggling a stand mixer, a food processor, and a dough sheeter, you'll need to carve out a permanent spot for this beast. Another practical concern is noise. A 2 HP motor does its job, but it's not whisper quiet. In a residential setting, the hum can be audible through thin walls, so you might want to run it during the day rather than late at night. Finally, the 1-year parts and labor warranty is decent for a commercial machine, but it's not as comforting as the 3-year coverage you sometimes see on high-end home mixers. If you're buying this for a high-volume operation, you should budget for possible service calls after that first year. Let's walk through a typical day in a small pizza shop that decided to add the Omcan to their workflow. The morning prep starts at 8 a.m. with the dough in the walk-in fridge. By 9 a.m., the manager loads the cold dough into the 30QT bowl, switches to the dough hook, and lets the motor run for 8 minutes. The dough reaches the perfect elasticity without the need for a restand stretch cycle that many smaller mixers require. While the dough is rising, the kitchen staff can focus on prep for toppings because the mixer's safety guard eliminates the worry of a sudden spill. By lunch, the shop has already rolled out 3 pizza trays, each using dough from that single batch. The consistency is noticeable. Crusts have the same chew and rise, which customers comment on. In the evening, the same machine handles a second batch for dinner service, proving that the 30QT capacity isn't just a marketing number, it's genuinely useful for 2-shift operations. Contrast that with a weekend home baker who wants to make a single pizza.